They blew up my great-grandfather's dam at 6 in the morning while I was grabbing coffee, and a century of limestone heritage collapsed into smoke. By the time I screeched into the driveway, hand-cut stone lay shattered, and HOA President Dexter Hawthorne stood smiling like he'd conquered Rome. He brushed gray dust from his polo shirt, grinning wide, calling it free demolition, saying my swamp was murdering neighborhood property values. What he didn't realize was that swamp had quietly held back floodwater since 1924, protecting every manicured lawn downstream from disaster. Spring snowmelt was 6 weeks away, and he had just unplugged a ticking time bomb buried beneath mountain runoff. My name is Ezra Blackwood, hydraulic engineer, freshly divorced. Thinking 12 Colorado acres would heal wounds instead of ignite war, the property sat upstream from Millbrook Estates, beige McMansions lined like cloned teeth in a developer's overconfident smile. My great-grandfather Samuel built that limestone dam during the Depression, when men shaped rock by hand and trusted gravity more than paperwork. That 3-acre pond was our heart, mist rising each dawn, water whispering over stone worn smooth by a century of patience. I planned sustainable trout farming and organic irrigation. Healing quietly while honoring legacy, never expecting suburban tyranny and pressed khakis. Enter Dexter Hawthorne, BMW driving HOA emperor, 8-tier president, allergic to anything rustic that threatened his resort brochure fantasy. A certified letter arrived thick as accusation, demanding $12,000 in unpaid HOA water management fees I never agreed to. According to Dexter's legal team, my dam was unauthorized, violating community standards that somehow extended 70 years backward through time. Remove it within 30 days, they threatened, or face $500 daily until my family's history dissolved. I called Dexter, expecting adult conversation, but his laugh sounded like garbage disposal, chewing glass and entitlement. He insisted water flowing through Millbrook meant I used community resources, therefore owed tribute like medieval peasants. I hired a lawyer and discovered my grandfather refused HOA membership in 1954, leaving boundaries legally deliciously ambiguous. County inspectors soon descended, citing mailbox colors, fence heights, even coffee grinder noise, disturbing suburban serenity. Safety inspections became harassment tactics, but they miscalculated one thing. I designed water systems professionally. Rick Morrison, county inspector, and Dexter's golf companion, arrived claiming my dam was structurally unsound and dangerous. He poked century-old limestone with a screwdriver, scribbling notes theatrically, measuring nothing, photographing even less. His emergency report demanded immediate demolition for catastrophic concrete erosion. It's typical of 1960s construction, apparently rewriting geological history. My dam was limestone from 1924, and his ignorance tasted sweeter than revenge brewing. I hired Matthews and Associates, structural experts who certified half of Colorado's bridges for independent assessment. Their 40-page report declared my dam exceeded modern safety standards by 200%. Estimated lifespan 500 years with routine maintenance, meaning Samuel built something Rome would envy. I filed complaints with the state engineering board, the county prosecutor, and local press, packaging evidence like ammunition. Turns out fraudulent emergency orders make counties liable for damages, something Dexter never mentioned during threats. Meanwhile, Dexter launched a fear campaign in the Millbrook Herald, screaming headlines about ticking time bombs. 57 neighbors signed his petition demanding demolition of my supposed hazard. I invited them to tour the dam personally, showing spillways controlling flow and preventing flood surges. By noon, 18 neighbors crossed off signatures, but Dexter's arrogance remained unshaken. Demolition trucks arrived Tuesday at dawn. Despite pending appeals, orange vests unloading equipment like invading infantry. I blocked the road with my pickup, calling lawyers and reporters while diesel engines growled impatiently. Local television cameras arrived when deputies showed up, and Dexter's anger performed beautifully on live broadcast. His attempt to explain 99 safe years collapsed. Under one question about sudden urgency after corruption charges, City Councilman Bradley Walsh introduced an ordinance targeting pre-1950 water structures, meaning exactly one thing: my dam. During public comment, I asked if any other structures would be affected, and silence swallowed the chamber. I revealed Dexter owned 47% of upstream parcels through Shell LLCs, planning a $12 million resort. His environmental virtue melted like snow in July under fluorescent council lighting. The vote was postponed, but bot experts soon testified my pond was ecological catastrophe. State biologists later confirmed it was one of the healthiest freshwater ecosystems surveyed regionally. Anonymous EPA complaints followed, accusing me of illegal watershed diversion, triggering federal investigators. The inspector confirmed my 1924 permits remained valid under grandfather clauses protecting historic infrastructure. Meanwhile, HOA members began auditing finances, discovering $18,000 paid to Hawthorne Consulting, Dexter's own company. 3 years of records revealed nearly $180,000 embezzled through fake maintenance contracts. At a packed meeting, homeowners voted unanimously to remove Dexter and file criminal charges. Cornered and furious, he filed fraudulent eminent domain paperwork seizing my property for public safety. Forged seals and backdated assessments surfaced, rushed during holiday distractions. That's when Harold Brighton, 93-year-old property legend, unearthed a 1953 flood control contract. The agreement made my family legally responsible for downstream flow management in perpetuity. Destroying the dam would violate federally recognized flood control infrastructure protections. If flooding occurred after interference, liability would be catastrophic and personal. I contacted Dr. Sarah Martinez at Colorado State for flood modeling simulations. Her graduate students built computer models showing 47 houses underwater for weeks without the dam. Rebecca Torres, environmental lawyer, confirmed federal penalties for destroying authorized infrastructure were brutal. We formed the Millbrook Safety Coalition, educating neighbors with address-specific flood maps. Fear turned real when residents saw their own homes colored deep blue beneath projected water levels. Fire Chief Rodriguez requested flood monitoring sensors for early evacuation alerts. I installed a network capable of warning every household hours before peak flooding. Meanwhile, Dexter attempted shredding HOA records at midnight, caught by Deputy Maria Santos. Subpoenaed bank documents rendered his paper confetti meaningless in federal hands. Sabotage escalated when his brother-in-law attacked my flood sensors with a baseball bat. Trail cameras captured every swing, khakis soaked in creek water, and incompetence. County commissioners attempted emergency resolution 1247 declaring my dam imminent danger. I warned them personally of millions in liability and federal consequences. The resolution failed 4-1. Walsh isolated politically and visibly sweating. Finally, Sunday night saboteurs weakened structural supports with sledgehammers, creating genuine instability. Federal Judge Patricia Morrison ordered supervised demolition to prevent catastrophic failure from criminal damage. At dawn Tuesday, engineers detonated a century of craftsmanship under gray anticipatory skies. By afternoon, snowmelt surged earlier than forecasts, liberated creek water accelerating downstream hungrily. By 4 p.m., streets filled where natural overflow channels remembered ancient geography. My flood sensors screamed alerts across neighborhoods once dismissive of engineering warnings. Dexter's $800,000 mansion flooded first, built arrogantly in a historic creek overflow plain. Evacuation boats navigated manicured lawns transformed into temporary river systems. At the community center, 300 residents gathered, soaked, furious, awakened. Sheriff Maria Santos arrested Dexter for embezzlement, fraud, environmental crimes, and criminal negligence. Channel 9 cameras captured handcuffs closing, while floodwater lapped against gymnasium steps. Federal prosecutors revealed 6-month investigations already underway into his corruption network. Civil suits estimated over $8 million in flood damages personally assignable to him. Rick Morrison and complicit officials were arrested for falsifying reports and accepting bribes. The irony tasted metallic as floodwater and justice rose simultaneously. Dr. Martinez presented plans for rebuilding the dam to modern federal standards. Funding would come from disaster grants and Dexter's inevitable bankruptcy settlement. The new structure promised 500 more years of protection if future presidents respected physics. Rebecca Torres announced additional federal charges against conspirators who weaponize regulation for profit. As rescue boats evacuated families, realization settled heavier than storm clouds overhead. My great-grandfather built that dam not for scenery but survival. Dexter destroyed it for ego and property brochures. Water followed gravity, indifferent to ambition, ego, or beige siding. Engineers solve problems even when villains create them for selfish gain. I lost a century-old masterpiece but saved 47 families from ruin. The valley would rebuild stronger, wiser, legally fortified against future tyrants. Sometimes justice arrives, carried by snowmelt and handcuffs together. And if anyone ever calls flood control ugly again, they'll remember Millbrook learned the hard way.